I'm sitting here with the amazing Dr. Falquier, the host of what was once called Doctor's Plus, now is called the Culinary Medicine Recipe. And we have been working together for several years. Since when?
2020.
2020, yes, during COVID. You were a guest on Doctors Plus, actually, when I was hosting it. But now times have changed. You are hosting it. And so, first of all, I want to say how exciting it is to meet you in person after a few years. It was weird, like all these years, to have never met you. And now we finally met each other. And
Absolutely.
it's so exciting.
It's super exciting, and I realized being with you, it felt completely normal.
Yes, yes.
You realize how, yes, virtual is different than in real life, but it's been completely natural. So thank you. Yes. Yeah, it was an honor. I remember when you got in touch with me in 2020 to be a guest on your podcast, and I was incredibly excited because it was pretty early on in my entrepreneur road, and that we evolved not just from being a guest once, but then during the pandemic in this virtual world to do events together.
Yeah, we did some live stream cooking classes. What else have you done? Then you guest hosted when I wasn't available. I had asked you to guest host. And that quickly turned into me asking you if you would take over the hosting reins and host Doctors Plus.
Yes, and that also was a true honor. So thank you for trusting me all along the way. So here we are, years later.
Yes, and we're basically, it's going to be season 2 for you. And we are, as I said at the top, we made a change to the name, and I want to explain a little bit today to the listeners why we made the name change and exactly what Dr. Falquier will be doing with the show this season. So, as in Doctors Plus, Dr. Falquier will continue to interview top-notch doctors about nutrition as it relates to various health conditions. But in addition, and this is where the change is happening, and hopefully for the better, Dr. Falquier is going to expand her guest list, and that guest list will now also include chefs, healthcare visionaries, and food service professionals who are making leaps forward in the emerging field of culinary medicine. So now it's probably a good time for you, Dr. Falquier, to explain to everyone what is culinary medicine. It's emerging. It's going to be a very exciting field very soon. So please let's talk a little bit about what that is.
Yes, so culinary medicine is evidence-based nutritional information meeting the culinary arts. So what that translates to is having people understand the why. So why should they put the effort into maybe considering transitioning a breakfast that maybe on a daily basis they have a donut and a sugary coffee through a drive-through on their way to work, and understanding what happens to their body on a day-to-day or long-term if that's a habit that they use regularly, compared to if they make, say, overnight oats where they use plain yogurt, oats, berries. So what nutrients are they getting from that, and what again happens to their body short and long term? And I'm using that as one simple example. And then once that understanding is there, how? That's part 2. How do they do that? How does one cook if we've lost our ability generation to generation of having somebody in our household that cooked regularly? Some people still do, but most people do not anymore. So having people come into teaching kitchens, and that could be your own kitchen, or it could be in group settings where we have hands-on teaching classes, of utilizing this new knowledge into the how. How do I make a whole grain? How do I cook non-meat protein sources, for example? How do I make those overnight oats?
Mm-hmm. All right, it's one thing to be educated or told what you should be doing, but to actually do it in your own home, to go do the shopping and then the making, that's where a lot of people stop. And so one important facet of who you are is that not only are you a physician, but you've gone to culinary school, and so you're a culinary medicine expert. So you're going to put the knowledge and the action together.
Correct.
With this series.
Yes, and a lot of it is the sense of, again, not just the stamp of what healthy is, but how to make it work for you as an individual.
And delicious.
Yes.
Make it delicious.
Yes. Yes, make it delicious. Make it with the herbs and spices that you enjoy. Make it on your budget. Make it on your time availability, with your desires of being in the kitchen more or less time, how creative you want to be. So it's really the sense that eating healthy is not the stamp. It really should be delicious, has to be delicious to be enduring, and how to do that regularly.
And I have actually a question. I've heard a lot about food as medicine, of course. That's pretty much what Alternative Food Network does. We produce content in that area. Would you say that culinary medicine is a subset of food as medicine, the food as medicine movement?
Yes, it definitely is. There were actually, in the United States, the White House just had a conference. They hadn't had one in over 50 years, talking about nutrition and health. And one of the bridge topics or giant umbrella topics was actually food as medicine. And yes, if I think of culinary medicine, it's one of those spokes where it really is about empowering people to make changes that they can endure for themselves rather than somebody else cooking for them and bringing food to them, which there's a huge role for that as well. So when we think of this, so there's food as medicine, there's medically tailored meals, there's produce prescriptions, teaching kitchens. All of these are all encompassing in this world of culinary medicine. So that's a lot of what we're going to be talking about with our guests through these episodes.
Okay. And we do have a great addition this season. Can you tell everybody what and why you're going to be introducing some special episodes?
Yes, I'm smiling big by you just asking me that question. So, as Esther's and my relationship has evolved, Esther has always been really excited and interested in this other side of me, that I actually was born and raised in Mexico City and lived there for the first 11 years of my life. And then from there...
Can I just tell people what you look like? You're blonde and you have blue eyes.
Yes.
You wouldn't automatically think that you are bilingual and speak Spanish.
Yeah, that's a good piece to give when we're listening to audio only. And
Yeah.
as a little background of that, when I started practicing internal medicine in San Diego, I would ask people, "Do you want to speak? And what's your most comfortable language?" And we live in San Diego, we live in the United States, and people would say, well, English. But there were certain words that would come out when they were speaking that I could tell they spoke Spanish as well. I never assumed. And then I would slip into Spanish sometimes, and you could see this relief on their face when they realize speaking about our health, speaking when things are concerning us or hurting, it's much easier to do in our own native language. And that is part of what I'm so excited to bring episodes in Spanish, because just like when our body's hurting us, talking about food is also really personal and intimate and delicious. And to be able to do that in a language that might be more comfortable for some people. So I'm excited. I'm not going to lie to you. We're going to have a little Espanol. Spanglish will slip out once in a while, and that's okay too. But I'm really excited to bring some of this information. And the episodes, we're varying things up a little bit. So when we talk about, again, because culinary medicine is so new, we're going to have episodes where I'm going to have guests talking about how you mentioned, Esther, that there's people in the healthcare field and people in the food service. And one of the things I absolutely love about culinary medicine is it is the bridging of these silos between different disciplines. Because we know that people need to eat better, but if they don't know how to cook, it's all intermeshed. And so that's why we're bringing in guests that really are part of these different areas of specialty.
So the guests are going to be, so that will be English language.
Correct.
And you're also going to be doing, I'll call them mini episodes, where you're pretty much, it's just going to be you, and they're like tips and tricks, would you say? Like,
Yeah.
to help people put into practice what you're trying to convey. And those mini episodes will be both in English and Spanish.
Correct. And those are really intended for any of us who are really trying to eat in a way that nurtures our health more. And it's also great episodes to give, if we are in the culinary medicine world, to give to our patients or our clients.
All right. Well, we hope you tune in to this season of what was formerly called Doctors Plus, now called the Culinary Medicine Recipe. We really appreciate your time in listening to the shows, and please tell others about it. It's going to be an awesome season.
Yes, thank you so much, Esther. I'm so excited, and we will see you soon. Salud and bon appetit.